Well, meanwhile, a new report from Bloomberg signals that President Biden and the Democrats could have some trouble getting that union vote this fall. The title reads, Biden loves labor unions, but blue-collar workers don't love him back. Gee, I wonder why. Here's more from the article. President Biden vowed his administration would be the most pro-union in U.S. history, but in a labor stronghold that has become a symbol for blue-collar defections from the Democratic Party, workers say they don't feel the wind at their backs from the White House. Joining us now for more on this is the president of the National Right to Work Committee and National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation, Mark Mix. Great to have you with us, Mark.
Hey, John, thanks for the opportunity and happy Labor Day to you.
Hey, happy Labor Day. I love working on Labor Day. I love having a job on Labor Day in a free market economy. The writers for that Bloomberg piece talk about the importance of the union vote in Michigan. Obviously, it's important in Pennsylvania as well. Otherwise, President Biden wouldn't be there. But I wonder, how these two messages are going to go together today, where you have the Senate candidate, John Fetterman, pushing for the legalization of marijuana, and Joe Biden there speaking to unions. Doesn't really sound like it matches up very well. I don't know. Maybe it does. Who knows?
No, John, that's absolutely the right analysis of this. Rank and file workers across the country are losing trust and hope in Joe Biden. And unfortunately, they're labor union officials, too. Joe Biden is pandering to the union officials, the one that makes decisions about where the PAC money goes and where the political dollars flow. And unfortunately for rank and file workers across the country, particularly if you're in the energy business or you're in the coal mining industries, we know that this administration is got designs on putting you on the unemployment line. And look no farther than the Keystone Pipeline or now, what passed in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. These aren't rank and file legislation helpers. These are union official helpers. And Joe Biden, when he says he wants to be the most pro-union president in the United States history, he means I want to be the most pro-forced unionism president in United States history. And he's working out that job pretty well.
Yeah, he seems to really like the public sector unions a lot, especially the teachers unions. And we also wanted to ask you about John Fetterman because he will be a staunch ally of these teacher unions if he's elected. Here he is.
I'm not going to sit up here and pretend that I know exactly what's needed. I'm going to turn to you. If you send me to Washington, D.C., you'll be the first people that I'll call and want to sit down and meet with and find out what you need, what would be most helpful. How can we be most supportive? What are the resources you need?
Now, that would be great if he were speaking to parents about how to improve schools, but he's talking to teachers unions, and we've seen this before from the Biden administration as well. Their fealty to not just teachers unions, but all unions.
Yeah, absolutely, John. With the teachers unions, it's incredibly sad what's happened in the school districts. And unfortunately, teacher unions are to blame for that, and particularly Randy Weingart, the American Federation of Teachers, and Becky Pringle from the National Education Association, who are really not speaking for teachers in the long run and not speaking for kids, most certainly. What they're speaking for is political science and political power. And the idea that Joe Biden would stand up and push $200 billion into an educational system that is failing our kids today, primarily because union officials are doing everything about cultural change and social issue change and not doing much about reading, writing, and arithmetic. And these new analysis of what the learning loss has been over the last 2 years are stunning. When you have a union president out in Los Angeles who said, it's okay if our babies don't learn the times tables. They know the difference between a riot and an insurrection, and they know how to survive, and they know how resilience. The idea that they would think that that's important as opposed to the education of our children shows you just how out of touch union officials, particularly in the teacher unions, are with parents and teachers and taxpayers across the country. And I think that's going to come home to roost, John, when you talk about states like Pennsylvania and questions like John Fetterman, who says he's going to talk to Randy Weingarten first about what's right for education.
Well, let me ask you this. On Labor Day, to a guy like Mark Mix, what does Labor Day mean to you, Mark?
Well, Labor Day means celebrating those workers across the country that work hard, that toil, our first responders, the folks in manufacturing that provides the goods and services that we rely on as the greatest economy in the world. What it doesn't mean is that union officials and the power and privilege they have been granted by government to compel workers to pay dues or fees in order to keep a job, that's not celebrating rank and file workers. That's celebrating political power. And so we need to get back to voluntarism in labor unions, just like Samuel Gompers, the father of the American labor movement, said in his final speech to the AFL in 1924, the workers of America adhere to voluntary institutions. Anything else is a menace to their rights. And yet today, organized labor officials and the Joe Biden administration believe in more power for union bosses, less power for rank and file workers.
Mark Mix, happy Labor Day to you and to everyone else out there laboring today. And that other holiday is really May Day, right? That's the one for the labor unions, May Day.
Yeah, that's for the bosses. That's right, John. Good point.
All right.
Indeed.
All right. Well, maybe we'll have you
Thanks.
back in May for that one. Great to see you. Mark Mix for us.
Thanks, John.
All right. We got